A global welcome and a warm welcome to the world. Assalamu alaikum, good evening, good afternoon, a very good day for anybody and everybody who's joining us from over 22 countries to put Verda One as a global business that started in times of crisis, but still proved its determination and committed to its associates and growth. So thank you very much, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. This is a great evening. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Verda One, greetings to you all, and I'm honored to be the moderator of today's evening, Making Intelligent Moves During Crisis. We are broadcasting live from Dubai, and delighted to introduce to this virtual stage a phenomenal director of Verda One and a gem of a person, a guru in the regional financial arena, a man with a lot of smiles and a great guy with a lot of insights to tell us with facts and figures how to maneuver into intelligent moves during crisis times. Very interestingly, before I leave the floor to Saikat, I would like to bring up a little quote as I normally do. And this quote today says, ships don't sink because of the water around them. Ships sink because of the water that gets in them. So do not let what's happening around you get inside you and weigh you down. Enjoy, and Saikat, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening, namaskar, sat sri akal. I hope that all of you who are attending today are fine and in a good mood. Good evening once again. Next page. Hussein, if you start my presentation. So welcome all of you, and whatever I heard from all the board of directors that almost 22 or 23 countries are participating. When I say 23 countries, it means 23 families, and the families has a sister, brother, children, parents, and all. So I welcome all of you across the globe, and I hope that I could able to give you some insights, whatever little I do understand, and I have taken my time to discuss in today's webinar. And all of you, once again, thank you so much for taking out time. And I will start my little brief about how the market look like, what one should move during this crisis. I don't, although I don't believe the word crisis, I always I says that all in all the difficulties, middle of difficulties, there are opportunities. But nevertheless, we can't avoid the situation and the time, but we'll how to go along with the time is extremely important. I will request our moderator Hassan to take me to Hussein to take me to the slide. Yeah, thank you, Hussein. So basically, if you see that last 4 months how the world has seen, there were no these red dots in across the globe. If you see all the 5 or 6 continents, right, wherever we talk about that, the one is only one universe now, that is and everybody is talking about corona pandemic. So what is corona pandemic and what's the reality? The reality is that 13.8 million cases and almost 600,000 deaths in the world so far, and we have to accept it and live with it. We can't say no, and we'll have to accept it, and we'll have to understand how to think today and how to think better tomorrow. That is extremely important. So what is all about is balance is important. Corona lockdown is going on. It is necessary in many parts of the world, and at the same time economy revival equally important across the globe. So when cases were less, people were fearful and there was lockdown. Now when cases are high and increasing, people are cautious. They are taking precautions, but they are stepping out of the houses and helping in reviving the economy. you see, the adjustment and the balance between both. So once when there were, less cases, more fearful, now cases has increased and fear has to move apart, and we need to come out from home, impart our expertise and work and etc. everywhere and revive the economy. So it's called balance across the globe, balance among ourselves, balance with family, friend, team, fraternity, economy, nation, everywhere they require a proper balance, which is extremely important at this point of time. So now we'll have to understand that how we will balance on our day-to-day affairs, where there is around 14 million cases, 600,000 deaths, how we will balance, and the world never witnessed this in the past. So it is a new game changer, and along with this, we'll have to move on with right courage, right conviction, and right commitment. And here we are in Vrindavan. We will try to support you with a lot of opportunities, and the opportunities are global opportunities. So Hussein, basically, we are very, very cautious about, looking into the opportunity. I always say crisis always brings opportunity. So once a crisis is in motion, turning it into an opportunity when requires new ways of seeing, thinking, and responding. It is extremely important. So if we see, if you go through my chart, right, where there are a lot of, a lot of situations and scenarios are there from 1970 to 2020. It means 30 plus 20, 50 years. So 50 years is a quite long time, and we have tried to put in our slide that whatever crisis, be it this pandemic, be it Ebola, or be it HIV cases, or be it any other cholera epidemic, or otherwise, how MSCI World Index has behaved. We need to understand that how this MSCI World Index has behaved, and what's the repercussion after the crisis. So that is very, very important, and it gives us insight that market goes down and it recovers fast. The impact of coronavirus on stock market since the market of the outbreak, if you see, from January to July, so basically it means last 6 months plus, we have seen how the market has behaved. If you see my blue colors, so blue color is basically Nikkei, which is minus 5.2%. If you see the yellow color curves, the yellow color is basically Dow Jones, which is minus 13.3%. And if you see FTSE red color, FTSE 100, it is minus 19.3%. So it means that market has gone down after March, which was on its bottom. If you see red, yellow, and blue, all the curves were down in before April or between March and April, end of March. So what does it mean? It has recovered. It was down by almost 45 to 50%. So market has recovered. So it is a very clear-cut sign that market is recovering. Market cannot be stagnant at any point of time, be it FTSE, be it Dow Jones, be it Nikkei, be it Singapore Stock Exchange, be it Mumbai Stock Exchange, be it Hong Kong, or anywhere in the world. Market has moved down. It was on its bottom, and again it has started picking up. So what does it mean? In the month of March end, if anyone has invested, so market was almost minus 40-45%, and if say for example, if Nikkei is minus 5% or Dow Jones is minus 13%, you can see that during this short period, how much an investor has made money. So what does it mean? It means that one has to find opportunities in the middle of crisis. So intelligent and smart investors and smart entrepreneurs, so they try to find out ways and means when there is a crisis. So I won't say that's the reason why there were no mistakes now, only opportunities. So if you think that let's wait and watch, there is nothing called wait and watch. One has to grab the opportunity. Say, for example, if I'm a student and I think that, it's my first, second, or first month of my schooling, and I wanted to enter in a classroom, and I think that, okay, teacher will open the door, I will enter, and he will help me to sit, he will help me to push to enter the class, then I am wrong. So what does it mean? So teacher opens the door, I need to enter the class, I need to find a seat, I need to sit down there, I need to keep my bag. So what does it mean? It means that I need to find out opportunity during, if somebody is giving us a chance. So it's a chance, and we need to make right use of it. So I think in this, this slide, people could able to understand that, there are opportunities, and it is inevitable because numbers speaks. So you can see that we, from last 50 years MSCI World Index chart I have put, and at the same time I've given a chart, Nikkei, Dow Jones, and FTSE 100, that how it has behaved from January to July. And needless to mention that in the month of, before April, in the month of March, how the market declined to its bottom, and how again it has started going up. So who has invested at that point of time, how much money he has made? Very interesting slides and very interesting numbers and data today I will going to discuss. And I'm open to the questions, queries. If anyone could able to send it to me, I will answer those questions and queries. So can I go to the next slide, please, Hussein? So crisis leads to opportunities. Now, opportunities lies in difficult times. Very, very interesting. So basically, if you see this slide, there are four figures, four very prominent people you could able to see. Left hand side, if you could able to see, who is he? Very interestingly, he is Jess Livermore. So who is he? If you, I do not know how many people are aware of. There was a huge crisis in 1929, stock market crisis, right? And the revival took 25 years. 25 years, it took to recover. At that point of time, you will surprised to know Jess Livermore has made in 1920, in those days, $100 million through equity market and stock market in 1929. Those days, gone are the days, because it's such a digital transformed day to day. All informations are within your click. So those days to get information was a challenge. On 1929, during a Great Depression of 1929, Jess Livermore has made $100 million by taking crisis as an opportunity. Secondly, in recent times, 20 years back, in 2000, during dot-com crisis, none other than, everyone in the world knows this company. Each one of us do something to, for logistics, supply chain, or get something, or do something, or talk about. It is none other than Amazon.com. So who is he? The most dot-com stocks had gone bust in 2000. 77% fall down by of the Nasdaq index. However, the gentleman who believed, Jeff Bezos from Amazon.com, he has made, can you believe the worth? What's his net worth? The richest man, $178.5 billion he has made. So he is worth $178 billion guy since 2000 to this time. It means in 20 years. He believed, he assessed the crisis, and he had turned around that crisis into an opportunity. So I'm not the believer, and I wanted to throw this message, pass on this message, that friends, please don't think, please don't sit tight, right? Try to find out ways and means. There are opportunity lies. If we won't encash, someone else is encashing. So it's up to you that you wanted to encash and wanted to make your fortune, or you wanted to pass on to someone else. And you will be surprised to know, in this COVID pandemic 2020, because 19 has gone, the most of the companies are struggling Mukesh Ambani, the chairman of chairman of Reliance Group, has become one of the richest global person, and he has managed to raise $20.2 billion during this crisis, introducing Reliance Jio. It is unbelievable. When everyone is crying, this person has made money, arranged money, and made it a successful, venture, and given a message to the world. Hey, look, time has changed. One has to assess the crisis and how you know, turn around and maneuver that crisis into a good situation wherein you could able to adjust and on your own way. So that is extremely important. So from 1929 to 2000 to oil crisis, again one very interesting example which I have tried to put here is, during oil crisis, Elon Musk, when everything was, in doldrums, right, this gentleman came up with an idea of Tesla car, that electric car. And today, Tesla's market cap is 278 billion. It has surpassed Toyota. Toyota is such an old automobile company. So in few years, Tesla is $278 billion market cap, having a market cap. So it means it is up to us, it is up to you, my dear friend, that how you would like to perceive, how you would like to, control, visualize, and turn this crisis into an opportunity. It's purely up to you. And number speaks, examples are to be seen, understood, discussed, and it gives us immense amount of confidence, right, that if these are the possibilities, if people have done and achieved, then why not we? So it is extremely important, my dear friend. In Vardhavan, we would like to always give you updated information, what has happened, how it will going to happen, and what we should do. Very interesting. One has to understand that, sorry, my throat is not well, though I'm well. So, in this slide, a very interesting slide, again, we have taken, you'll surprised to know that we have taken 150 years in this slide. 150 years. Whatever crisis you wanted to see, all the crises are here. I would like to request who could able to see and understand this, please go through it from 1870 to 2020, 150 years, 30 years, 100 years, and 20 years, 150 years, from a depression of so many, from cholera, from 1979 crash, right, from Ebola to WWI, from inflationary, from HIV, from Black Monday to whatever, all the crises we have tried to pull out. And we have very simply, I wanted to convey this message and understand carefully with just 3 parameters. If you see the pink or red color rather, that is cumulative real wealth. If you see the blue, that is the peak cumulative value. And if you see the pink color box, that's the market crash episode. What does it mean? Through this slide, we wanted to, try to convey that if someone 150 years back put $1, just $1. So $1, when $1 becomes $2, it means 100% growth. If $1 becomes $3, it's 200% growth. So now in 150 years, if someone has put $1, so it is, take a guess, put on a pen on paper and assess yourself that how many times the market has gone if someone has put $1 150 years back, and one it will be $1 become $15,303 by end of March 2020. Can you believe this? If one becomes 2, it is 100%. Now one becomes 15,303. So how many times? What's the percentage? This is the power of compounding. What does it mean? It means you will have to stay invested. Don't, go for a shortcut. You might jump, you might fall down. So what does it mean? It means through short term or through shortcut, you might gain a lot, you might lose a lot. However, if you either keep on investing or you stay invested, there is a humongous amount of compounding effect which an investor could able to assess, could able to get, to able to receive, and to able to enjoy. This is extremely important. Whatever may be the asset class, it may be equities, it may be real estate, it may be gold, it may be anything and everything, right? If you stay invested, it has a good repercussion. So basically, it wouldn't have been a smooth, right? Unless you want, see and witness. So if you see from 1911, 51% drop between June 1911 and 1920, 9 years. 79% loss in wealth in Great Depression of 1929. 54% of drop in August 2000 until February 2009, 9 years. So basically, all those drops and negatives has turned around into positive and manifold. That's the power of compounding. Hussain, may I request you for the next slide? So when whosoever, be it IMF or World Bank or Asian Development Bank or any central banks across the globe, the GDP growth forecast, what they have made earlier, right, was lesser than what the forecast now. Can you guess that why is it so? The reason is very simple. Pre-COVID-19 forecast, if you see, we have taken a global forecast. So what was the global forecast? Less than 3, 2.7%. And now the global forecast has gone up. It is 4.7%. So it's a very good number. Why? Because all the economy has gone down. Whatever it will be add to the gross domestic product, it will add on during the whole year. So here the global economy will grow at a faster pace, and coronavirus created a short-term glitch in between, but it has a very good impact on a longer period, that from this what shall I say, that it's bottomed down. If we need to talk about 2020, it's an absolute downturn. 2021, it's sluggish but positive, and you could able to see with the kind of forecast it has all the countries has come up with, and it's a real GDP. Global, earlier pre-COVID it was 2.7%, and post-COVID it is 4.7% forecast now. If you see APAC, Asia Pacific, earlier it was 4.3, now it is 4.4. India, it was 6.7 pre-COVID for 2021. Now post-COVID, it is 7.1%. Say Australia, it was 2. 8, now it is 4%. Korea 2.4, now post-COVID the forecast is 3.5. Singapore, pre-COVID it was 2.3, and the forecast is 4.5 plus. So market will recover. It gives a sign that all the numbers, IMF, World Bank, and all the sovereign authorities has gone back, and the 2021 annual GDP is coming much better than what it was forecasted earlier. Hussein, may I request you to, yeah. So basically, we need to understand there are various asset classes, as I have spoken in my earlier discussion also. There are bonds, there are mix and matches, bonds, and it might be sovereign bond, it might be corporate bond, but equities and bond, which we call balanced fund kind of a structure, which is 40-60 or 60-40, or if you take a index of an equity market, be it Standard Poor or Dow Jones or Nikkei, right, or oil as a asset class, investment asset class, or gold or REIT. If you see last 20-year annualized return by asset class from 1999 to 2018, average investor has achieved a return of around 1.9%. Bonds has generated a return of around 4.5%. 40-60, what does it mean? It means 40% equity, 60% bond, around 5%, 60% equity, 40% bond, or otherwise around 5.2%. Standard and Poor index has generated a return of around 5.6%. Oil has generated a return of 7%. Gold has generated a return of 7.7% in last 20 years, right? And REIT has generated a return of 9.9%. So annualized return. So basically year on year type. So REIT has generated almost 10%. So double digit. If we need to understand that is there any double digit return in any asset class, then it is only real estate. It's REIT. Although in Vardhan you will get a lot of opportunities and freebies and etc., which I'm not the appropriate person to comment and discuss on this, but you will get a lot more informations and lot more updates and freebies times to come. But my duty and job is to aware you what is going on in the market, how market will be behaving, what is the current status, and how we will build up confidence among ourselves, how to take it forward, and how to find out opportunities amid crisis. So why to invest in REITs? Basically, what is a REIT? It's a trust, it's a company, it's its own, and in most of the cases operates income generating real estate assets, right? It has delivered good and competitive total returns based on high steady dividend and long term capital appreciation. So the comparatively low correlation with other asset classes, and it's not mark to market with any other asset class. However, it has witnessed in last 20 years that it has almost generated double digit return, and it offers a variety of real estate sectors. It offers from office building or business center, retail places, malls, healthcare unit, various services. It might be airport, it might be it might be a sports complex, right? It might be diversified, and it might be any students accommodations, it might be old age homes, hotels, leisures, etc. So REIT offers a variety of real estate sector within this asset class itself. So REIT, one, it diversifies within the asset class. Second, it has generated double digit return in last 20 years. Third, most of the cases it operates, it manages, and it generates long term income, capital appreciation, and steady dividend income. So hence REIT is preferred, and it has emerged and it has evolved as a new asset class. You will surprised to know many countries are yet to launch REIT even in 2020. Hussein, can I request you to go to the next slide? So REITs has done exceptionally well over long time frames. So basically, this slide, very interesting slide, that when first time REIT has come into picture in the world, in the global map, and how, where is REIT in the is placed among all asset classes in emerging market, and which are the countries, right, that REIT has already started generating income for their investors, and which are the countries which are in the pipeline, and which are the countries still to come to the REIT structure. Very interesting. If you see, the red colors, so reds are the first movers. So now here, so basically, so REIT has come into picture in 1969. In 1969 in United States of America and Netherlands. 1960s, 1970s, 70, 71, REIT structure has been approved by government in Australia. In 1990s, Canada, surprisingly among African countries, Ghana has come at first. Ghana, Belgium, Brazil, Turkey, and Greece came into picture, even before UK. In 2000, Japan, Singapore, France, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Bulgaria, Malaysia, United Kingdom, Germany, Italy, New Zealand, and Nigeria came into picture so far as REIT structure is concerned. So basically, REIT, real estate investment trust legislation, came into picture in 2000 by these countries, from these countries, or through these countries. In 2010, after 10 years, in 2010, Dubai came into picture, I mean UAE, Mexico, Thailand, Finland, Ireland, South Africa, Spain, Pakistan, and Kenya. In 2010 to 2019, Bahrain came into picture, Indonesia, India, Philippines, they came into picture, and the legislation came as robust and approved by the various governments. Legislations in place and under consideration. You'll surprised to know China is under consideration. Still, it has not been approved by the government. Legislations in place so far as REIT structure is concerned. It's Chile, Costa Rica, Hong Kong, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Puerto Rico, and Russia. So very interesting slide that it is emerging and evolving. Still, out of 200 plus countries, REIT is only available on around 30-35 countries. So timeline and of REIT launch in different countries is known to you now, that how and when these countries got the approval or government legislations has been passed, and how it looks like that which are the countries are yet to come, and which are the countries which are under legislation, and which are the countries which are becoming experienced, or the investors are experiencing by investing through those REIT structures through those countries. A very interesting slide again. Global REIT performance by region and by sectors. If you see, almost all countries, almost all REITs across the globe has shown negative, because everything was down. all commodities, gold, equity market, bond, and that's called crisis. So from this crisis, how it will start, revolving, and how it will recover from now. So whosoever will be the, part of this journey, they will be in the growth trajectory. If you see, almost all the countries, their REITs in UK, Australia, France is minus 33, Australia is minus 27%, UK is minus 22%, Hong Kong is minus 12%, China is minus 12%, but Germany is positive, 2.3%. Only Germany is positive in the region. And in the sector, if you see, hotels, retail, drivers, office, then industrial REIT or industrial investments are positive. It is around 1.5%. So market is in recovery mode. Almost all REITs have bottomed out. Whatever it will from now it will go up. And residential REIT is in recovery mode with an year-to-date return of negative 9.8%. Hotels and REIT, as I have mentioned, but industrial REIT is around 2% now, which will keep on moving on positive direction. Hussein, may I request you to go to the next slide, please? So if we need to understand, current global, gross rental yields, Saudi Arabia generates. Let me tell you the, the greed. So from 1 to 9 scale, if you please focus on the scale, right? Red means less and green means more, and yellow is, in between. So basically, if you see, China, this South America's, Brazil and below Brazil, Argentina and all. So those are all red. If you see yellow, the yellows are in between, and green has generated a good return. Rental income, I'm talking about rental yield. If asset is there, if a commercial space, whatever, in the real estate asset class, so it has generated, positive return. And at what level? Saudi Arabia has generated 7.66 gross rental yield, Honduras 7.73, Mongolia 7.8%, Palestine, Panama around 8%, South Africa has generated 8.4%, Trinidad and Tobago 8.63%. If somebody is from Antigua and that part, so they will happy to know that they have generated a good yield. Puerto Rico, United States around 8.75 to 9. UAE has generated the highest. It is 9 plus 9.17%, gross rental yield. So what we were, discussing in our earlier slide, that, double-digit return or around, higher low single digit, it means 9% and above, and or if it touches 10%. So UAE has generated around 9.1% gross rental yield. So this is the current global gross rental yield scenario all across. So it's an interesting chart. I hope that you have a fair idea. If you see, in between, yellow and there is another color which has generated around 6 to 7%. So that is basically some parts of Europe, some parts of some parts of Africa, India, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore. It has generated a return of around 6.5 to 7%. Hussein, can I request for the next slide? So there is basically an overview of a REIT. There are one thing I must tell you, each one of you who are attending this webinar, please keep one thing in mind, and this I am talking about from my little 23-24 years of experience in the market. Seeing is believing. You see, you know the number, you know the figure and believe. Whispers are dangerous. Either you know 100 or you know 0. In between is dangerous, right? So basically there are a lot of rumors and lot of things, but what is the truth? One should know, one should visit, one should ask questions, and it is very, very, because today, across the globe, it's one has to maintain a highest level of transparency, a very good high level of corporate governance. Then only an entity can survive and go up to its epitome. Otherwise it will perish. There's nothing called shortcut and short term. It has to be rock solid. Believe on yourself, believe on your experience, knowledge, believe on the team, and do as per the regulatory norms, and take a very right decision and direction. Okay, fine. Out of 10 calls, one might go wrong. That's not a problem. It's a human error, right? But it can't be out of 10 calls, all 10 went wrong. So 5 went wrong. 1 or 2 might get, 10 to 20%. It's an, which is adjustable and which is acceptable. But it cannot be that, out of 10 calls, all 10 went wrong. So one has to believe what you do, where you invest, and please understand, please ask 10 times whatever you do in life. So just to give you, coming back to the slide again, REITs in UAE. A good example, Emirates REIT, established in 2014, number of assets 11, net leasable area around 2.4 million square feet, portfolio market AED 3.2 billion, portfolio occupancy is around 73%, share price US dollar 15 cents, NAV per share US dollar 1.41, loan to value around 50%, dividend per share yearly 8%, weighted average lease expiry around 8.4, 8.5, right? Retail space, Trident Grand Mall, it's a mall investment. Commercial, the India portfolio, they have Building 24, a loft offices, office park, a very prominent building called Indigo 7, Index Tower, European Business Center. In education, they have schools in DIP, Jebel Ali Schools, James World Academy, a very nice, lush green school, and lease franchise Gene, basically Miramos, it's an educational institution, right? So they have, this is the segregation of their portfolio wherein they have invested. First in the Gulf region, diversified portfolio with long-term lease, bought assets at the peak of 2014, right? And Ivarda one will be buying assets, so buying assets during the crisis, so which is an advantage. All assets in Dubai, in UAE for this, REIT in UAE, this Emirates REITs. Just I'm trying to give you a heads up. So just an emerging market REIT. So Indian REIT overview, Embassy REIT, first REIT in India, established in 2019, portfolio 33.3 million square feet, commercial offices 11, means 78 buildings, occupancy 92.8%, weighted average lease expiry 7 years, so it's a good 7 years, tenant retention 76%, 160 plus tenants, hotel 1096 keys, share price INR Indian rupees 344, NAV per share INR 375, loan to value around 15%, premium quality grade A assets with multinational tenants. So when you get a multinational tenants, the tenancy contracts are longer, rental income is longer, there is no, disputes will be lesser. So these are the plus points with multinational tenants. Indonesia REIT overview, Simas Plaza Indonesia, third listed on Indonesian Stock Exchange, nascent stage, listed on July 4, 2019, total portfolio of 733 million US dollar, initial value rupiah 500 per unit, expected yield 6 to 8%, asset type mall, retail malls. Another REIT, first REIT listed in Indonesian Stock Exchange in 2012, portfolio asset Solo Grand Mall, which is again retail, again REIT, CIS. So second REIT listed in Jan 2019, portfolio asset hotel, basically Jaran Suites assets, it's again a hotel. So REIT in Indonesia are in its nascent stage. India is also in, but Indian and Indonesian real estate market has grown up. One need to understand, real estate investment is different and REIT structures are slightly different, but real estate has grown in emerging market and it will keep on growing. However, whenever real estate will give it a shape of a legislation and a special enactment has to be gone through a parliament, then that gives a much more confidence for the investors, because that gives that there is a legislation, there is a structure, there is an accepted law of the land for the real estate investment trust. So it gives, positive, feeling, understanding and comfort for the investors wherever these legislations are there. So emerging market is really, it's a big market, big opportunity. I will talk about the numbers and how we get what. So in my next slides. So Hussein, may I request you to go to the next slide, please? So future outlook of REIT. Over the years, it has built up a reputation, as I was mentioning, that it is growing, it is credible, prudent, slowly it is going to be stable, and a lot more financial discipline is coming into picture. So in short, so REIT will extend the timeline to distribute earnings, which will definitely help REIT to plan and manage the cash flows, because many a time there is a mismatch, right? Rental rebates are there, which are offered by the REITs, because depending upon the time, depending upon bad time, good time, so that lowers the distributable income. However, at this point of time, COVID-19 pandemic is a system-wide shock for across the globe that negatively affected almost every industry, so as REIT. But higher leverage limit will give REITs buffer from falling valuation to allow REIT to take up more debt to manage cash flows or embark on acquisitions. But it depends that what you are mentioning in your articles, in your principles and philosophy of investments. And with interest rate expected to remain low to amid business recovery, REIT will likely to resume acquisition momentum for REIT to acquire a lot more assets in coming next 12, 24 and 36 months, provided REITs are willing to gear up. A lot more REIT will come across the globe. This much I can tell you now onwards, even though market has a nervousness. But again, it's a question of how you turn around crisis as an opportunity. We believe buying quality property at current low valuations with quality tenant and long-term lease contract, that's the key of success of any REIT. Yes. So if we need to discuss that, how is the outlook in next 5 years by 2025, some amazing numbers you could able to understand, and some very good news in the sense by 2025. So what does it mean? In next 5 years, 37 mega cities are coming across the globe, and 12 of these will be in emerging market. Global construction output is expected to reach 15 trillion by 2025. So what does it mean? It means 15 trillion construction industry globally, huge, mammoth. So other than fintech, if I need to talk about, then I will talk about real estate. By 2025, emerging market will host 60% of global construction activity alone. I'm not talking about the developed economy and underdeveloped or lower frontier market. And by 2025, real estate market size will be worth $4,263.7 billion. Even if this is the total real estate market, if 10% comes into REIT, so what does it mean? It means $426 billion industry in next 5 years. So it will keep on increasing. Whosoever will be part of this, managed well with good regulation, good corporate governance, very clear-cut mandate, and faith of the investors, good management, there is no question, no doubt that it will not bring good return. Next slide, Hussein, please. An expected return asset-wise in next 5 years. So try to understand, I'm very conservative personally, but I take stand aggressive. But when I do a calculation, I do a measured and conservative calculation and estimation. So bonds, so average, 2.5 to 4%, equities 4.5 to 6%. But on the real estate side, you could able to see 6-7% average and 8 to 9% aggressive. Hussein, next slide, please. This is my last slide. So people says when I talk more. So today I'm ahead of 10 minutes, I believe, if I need to understand and estimate time properly. Very interesting slide. And this will give you all the answers. Power of compounding again. 1.01 to the power 365 is equal to 37.8. 0.99 to the power 365 is equal to 0.03. Just 1 more percent of more effort and 1% less effort every day can make a huge difference in a year time. So now the decision is yours, choice is yours, mathematics never goes wrong, and the power of compounding is in front of you. So what we say at Vardhavan and whatever assets which will be managed by Skycap Investment Management, we say coming together is beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. So what I believe that each one of you first believe on yourself, believe on Vardhavan, believe on your team, believe on the market, right? There might be 5-10% plus minus. You'll have to accept, learn to accept that, and amid all crises, try to find out opportunities. And Vardhavan is an opportunity. I must say this, right? So I think that some value addition in terms of numbers and updates are there with you now. If you have any questions and any query, you can send it to email IDs and info@Vardhavan and to the directors. I'm always available. And if I could be of any help for any other video conferencing, any queries to answer, I'm always there. So I think that my time is going out. Thank you very much, and I love you all, and keep smiling, be positive, and move on with Vardhavan. Thank you so very much, and have a lovely evening from Dubai. And if I need to go to Far East, it is good night. And if I need to go to the Europe and America, it is good morning and good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Brother Saikat, thank you so much. It was fantastic, phenomenal, amazing information. I have one of the groups actually taking pictures of every slide that you've actually mentioned, and that's great, which means that there is a lot of information that is flowing towards us. Living with crisis, balancing life with surroundings, opportunities lying in difficult times, and we saw some great examples of people, how they won the game and they are winning the game. Very promising 5-year outlook alongside fintech. Of course, all what we're looking at is also what you gave us of insight of the Indian market and the Indonesian emerging markets with 6 to 7 annualized average returns. I think we would give another, I mean, this is like a very interesting topic, obviously, and very important topic for Vardhavan. So we are going to be giving some time for people to ask some questions. And of course, there's a lot of thank yous and there is a lot of applause for this presentation. Could you give us a little bit more insight on our property, the JVT property? People want to know about it. I mean, what's happening during these times regarding our own property and the properties that are surrounding it?
So basically, everything was standstill in last 3 to 4 months here. So there are a lot of regulatory and government intervention which was on hold during this point of time. However, advance has been given, paperwork has been done, and directors are here to complete the procedures. Let's hope that whatever pending procedures are there, if that can be cooked up at this point of time, right? So it was it was supposed to be completed, but since 4 months there was nothing, no government activity was there. So RERA has again started working. So hopefully that things will move very fast, and Waqas and Mahfouz will update on this. They are here, and the team is working to complete the procedures. You will get an update soon.
Great, excellent. There's a question of sharing this particular presentation. So yes, it is on record and we are going to be sharing this. One of the questions that also normally comes is that when we pick a a development or a property for our business, what is the assessment criteria there?
Oh, there is a humongous, many criteria, many parameters are there. So during my next session, I will explain, but I wanted to give you a brief. Whosoever, thanks for this question. And it's very basic in nature, but it is interesting, and one should know that it is, first of all, that the legal structure has to be seen. There should not be any dispute on that asset. Third is that what's the region's locality. Fourth is that what will be the buy and sell norms. Fifth is that is it available at a right price. Second is that what is the growth prospect on that region or that sector. Say for example, if it is an industrial space, or it is a hotel, or it is an hospitality, or it is an healthcare practice, or it is a school educational institution, or it is an student or a old age home. So there are various parameters, and there is a very distinct parameters are laid down. Point number one. Point number two, independent board members are there, so there should not be any biasness. This is two. Third is that with a full corporate governance, because this REIT will be coming under a regulatory structure, so there is no question each and every aspect will be scrutinized by the regulator. So there is a very humongous and high level of transparency are there, and at the same time lot of laid down parameters are there which can be explained in detail, right, during our course of next presentations.
Fantastic. I will take a last question, and this question also comes around from our associates, where the question says, I mean, how is Verda One different from the other reference marketing companies or network marketing companies or direct sales companies? Obviously, we talk about a business that is based on real estate, but at this point of a time, in fact, the information that you shared with us is the REIT based and the REIT asset class, and how it is flourishing and emerging, and what we can see from these mega cities that are going to come in the 5 years. What do you say about that?
So Hussain, it's again a very good question that what I found, there are three parts to this question. One is that how Verda One is different than others, right? Although it will be appropriate if Waqas and Mahfuz will answer, but however I can answer right away. So basically, there are a lot of network marketing companies across the globe, and I respect them. However, if with the offering of getting a property point or investing in a property point, right, and with that there are a lot of freebies, and the underlying is a real estate which can be seen, touched, and understood, that none of the marketing companies has given across the globe. This is the first, how it is different. Second is that regarding the mega cities and projects, because of course there will be one need to understand, be it a network marketing professional or an investor, who needs to understand that there will be a geographic diversification of the investments. One. Second is that within the asset class of real estate, there will be investment in education institutions, healthcare, residential, commercial, old age home, industrial practices, so on and so forth. So what does it mean? It means geographical de-risking, at the same time within the asset class again de-risking, and plus there are 25 to 27 mega cities are coming up, lot of opportunities, lot of growth in and around those cities and those countries. So Verda One should try and track, and should be trying and tracking those opportunities with the support of Skycap Investment Management Limited, which is the investment arm, and who will do the proper due diligence with all proper compliance, corporate governance, and legal structures. So joining hands together, needless to mention, there will be the best pick and choose. But again, I wanted to be very clear that out of 10, one might go wrong. So one has to understand this. But nevertheless, on an overall basis, there will be a very, very good opportunity and network within us globally. So we know that which assets are available at which country, which asset class. So those asset class will go through a proper due diligence procedure, which is a lengthy due diligence with the supervision of independent advisors and independent directors, and then a decision will be taken and investment will happen. So that is it.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. I think what we would do here is that we're ending the webinar. I thank you very much, Brother Saikat. It was amazing. You know, whatever you taught us today, actually. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, as I say, don't wait for the opportunity, create it. I think we have a platform that is a great platform that shows us that there is a lot of emerging opportunities that are coming out of it. Grab it, be part of it, and stay safe. There is a lot of adversity, but obviously there's a lot of opportunities. All the best around this adversity. We wish you all the There's a bit of an echo and technology is acting funny now. So thank you very much. And we hope you all the best. A very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you, Hassan. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.